Yours ain't saying nothing. My diamond talking back, yeah. My diamond talking back, they talking back, yeah. Diamond talking back, they talking back. Boom, pow, pow. Diamond talking back, they talking back. Blah, blah, blah.
My name is John Brown. I was born on May 9th, 1800 in Torrington, Connecticut. In 1837, Elijah P. Lovejoy was murdered. Because of this, I vowed here before God in the presence of these witnesses, from this time I consecrate my life to the destruction of slavery. While other abolitionists were anti-violence, I was pro-violence, and I believe that armed insurrection is the only way to overthrow the institution of slavery. I commanded forces at the Battle of Black Jack and the Battle of Oswetomia in the 1856 conflict in Kansas. My next plan of action is to raid the Federal Armory at Harper's Ferry to arm black slaves against their white owners. The Harper's Ferry raid unfortunately failed, and I was tried and found guilty and sentenced to hang. My name is John Brown. I was born on May 9th, 1800 in Torrington, Connecticut. I lost a lot of money in the economic crisis of 1839.
Let's talk about the peculiar institution, or slavery otherwise. For slavery really expanded in the global economy as cotton trade took booming in the 1860s. Cultivation depended on new technology, land, labor, and the demand for it. For slavery in Latin America, success of the Europeans depended on the slave labor of African slavery. So, sugar production with a cash crop was very important for the Latin Americas. Therefore, slavery was used greatly. White and black migrations in the South. In the 1830 to 1860 period, Southerners migrated in the southwest direction to fill the fertile land in cotton. Cotton was the center for South Carolina and then into Mississippi. About 1 million slaves were used in this production. Slaves and their masters at times had a paternalistic relationship, though the slave owners did not want to make their slaves feel human, so they could not create too great a relationship. But Southern males adhered to medieval chivalry and did not like industrialization. They followed a masculine code and honor with the virtue of women. For the case of yeoman farmers, about 70% of slave owners belonged to the mid-level yeoman class. They could own as many 10 slaves, but they usually ranged from 4 to few, and some would just be borrowed at times for work. 75% of Southerners had no slaves in general. For the justification of slavery, biblically, it was an ancient curse and a child of Noah, and that slaves should be put in bondage as it was their treatment. Historically, it was that all great civilizations had slavery, such as the Greeks. Legally, the U.S. Constitution did not even directly address slavery, and scientifically, it was that the black race were inferior to whites. Socially, it was blacks or children in need of guidance, and that they are lost without having a higher force above them. For slavery, the daily toll was harsh, as they were expected to work an average of 14 hours during the warm weather and 10 in the cold. 20 to 25 people were arranged and called gangs under the whip of a slave driver. The task system allowed for some slaves, though, that they could work at their own pace when they finished their duties, that they could move on and do any jobs for the rest of the day. But a normal slave was expected to pick 130 to 150 pounds of cotton. for religion or otherwise black Christianity, Christians' worship was an integral part of slave quarters. It included aspects of Islamic and African religions. Religious gatherings were forbidden unless there was a white overseer present. White planters, for religion, it equals social control, and also, for blacks, it equaled unity and strength. For the enduring family relationships were the central lives to most slaves. They were able to receive love, protection, knowledge, and cultural identification from their extended families. Slaves often performed extra work in order to gain more food and clothing for their family counterparts. Forms of black protest were daily acts of resistance in terms of breaking tools, burning houses, crops, stealing foods, or self-mutilation at most, or even death by killing their owners or masters, and running away.
Oh my God.
These darn Negroes got away! I lost them.
I'm Nat Turner. I was born on October 2nd, 1800 in Southampton County, Virginia. I was a slave and I led Nat Turner's slave rebellion. During this rebellion, we killed 55 to 65 whites, but 200 plus blacks were also killed by whites trying to put down the rebellion. During the rebellion, I killed my master and his whole family while they were sleeping. The rebellion led to increased hardships for both black slaves and free blacks. After the rebellion, I was able to hide for 2 months. Eventually, I was found, tried, and convicted to hang on November 11th, 1831.
I'm Harriet Tubman. I was born into slavery in 1820 in Maryland. I was a spy during the American Civil War. I left Maryland with my 2 brothers, Ben and Henry, to go to Pennsylvania. We used the Underground Railroad, which was a series of safe houses leading towards land where we could be free from slavery. I then returned for another trip to save my family, especially my niece Keziah, who I heard was being sold back into slavery. In 1850, the Fugitive Slave Law made it so we had to reroute the Underground Railroad to Canada. The Fugitive Slave Law made it so that if we got caught by anybody, we could get returned back to our owners for money. In 1913, I died of pneumonia. By 1804, the North abolished slavery. Then in 1808, Jefferson administration prohibited the importation of slaves. However, slaves were still being smuggled into the Americas. September 22nd, 1862, Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation stated as of January 1st, 1863, all states against the Union will be freed. Well, the slaves will be freed.